You're listening to the 49 Carats Podcast, a 49ers Goldmine production with Angelina Martin and Stephanie Sanchez.
What it do? It is episode 32 of the 49 Carats Podcast, and boy, do we have an excellent episode lined up for you guys ahead of this divisional matchup between the Packers and the 49ers. We have Eric Crocker here with us today. We're super stoked. And of course, I also have my co-host, Steph Sanchez. Steph, I'm going to start with you. How are you doing? Are you excited to have Eric here?
Oh, of course. I'm excited. I'm nervous about the game, but excited to have Croc on here. Hopefully he makes us feel better about the matchup.
Yeah. So
I got you.
yeah, we are praying. So Eric Crocker, a lot of people know you not only, from Twitter, but from your various podcasts that you do. Does anyone call you Eric, or are you just strictly Croc and Crocky now?
I've probably been Croc since 7th grade. It's always been Croc. Some people call me E, like my family, they might call me E, but most people, I'd say 95% of people call me Croc.
Yeah.
Crocky is newer. Like that's like
I like
some
Crocky.
girls that would call me Crocky.
Yeah, I like Crocky. I don't know why.
It just kind of stuck, so I started using that. But Croc has been something that Crock pot, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and especially as an athlete, like your last name is basically your first name, right? So
basically.
You and I have a little bit of a kindred spirit here because you are from Stockton, California in the 209. I'm from Turlock. So what was it like growing up in the 209 and, just playing football here in the Central Valley?
Oh, man. Stockton is interesting, I guess. I experienced everything. I experienced everything growing up from, now I would probably consider it poverty. I didn't consider it that then, but now you look back and you're like, damn, I had to go through that. Gosh, I don't even know where to start. You'd have to have something specific because it's kind of all over the place. But pretty much growing up in Stockton is probably what you'd imagine. Saw a lot of, interesting things. And I feel like everything that I saw kind of helped me shape, it shaped me into the person that I am today. And I think in a positive way.
Yeah, definitely. So for those of you who don't know, Eric Crocker, he played cornerback. He played at Modesto Junior College. That's right down the street from me. He was first team all conference there. And then he went on to play D2 football, where he was named to the Great American All Conference team. Look at that. Go Pirates. Hell yeah. Hashtag MJC.
I stole that chair out of the gym.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You always need a souvenir. You didn't steal it. You took it. It was yours. Not only did Eric tear it up, I don't know why I just called you Eric. That's hilarious. Not only did Croc tear it up in college, but he also, throughout the course of his career, signed with multiple pro teams from arena football to the NFL. And now you probably know him as the co-host of Locked On 49ers with Brian Peacock. Also, he also co-hosts Locked On NFL Draft. So we're happy to have you here. This is a huge game this weekend. Just right off the bat, Croc, these two teams have played each other before. They have a lot of playoff history, which luckily for us favors the 49ers. But as we saw earlier this season, the Packers had the upper hand. But coming into this game, how are these two teams different to you than the last time they matched up? Because, it is a lot different.
Well, I think both teams are really healthier in the right spots. Even let's start with Green Bay. And for everybody that the 49ers are kind of getting back and how much different they are, Green Bay is pretty different too. They're getting back their number one edge rusher, Zadaria Smith, who he's been out since week 1. So that's not ideal. They did have Jair Alexander in that game, but they haven't had him since like week 5 or something like that. So getting him back, that's a big game for them as well. I think the biggest changes for the most part, probably on the 49ers side of the ball, especially with how they want to play. We've seen how much the 49ers utilize Elijah Mitchell. And if they can give him the ball 25 times a game, like they will. Well, he had zero carries in that game because he was not active. They ran Trey Sermon, who I don't even know when's the last time we've seen Trey Sermon in the game. So that lets you know how far along the 49ers have kind of come just in the run game. And then they figured out, oh, wait, we got this guy, Deebo Samuel. We can actually put him in the backfield as a traditional running back and hand the ball off to him. And he can do well doing that. And actually, more than well, he kind of does great doing that when they give him touches. So from the offensive standpoint, the 49ers have definitely gotten a lot better understanding what their identity is and how they want to go about things. Then on the defensive side of the ball, there's no Josh Norman out there. There's no Diamador Lenore out there. You have Emmanuel Mosley, and now you have Ambry Thomas, who has continued to kind of get better each week. So that's been good to see. And I think the biggest change, which probably has really benefited the 49ers the most, has been moving Eric Armstead to 3-tech and inside, which I thought that's what they were going to do when they traded Buckner away. I'm like, oh, easy. Slide Armstead inside. You got your edge rushes. You're good to go. They were like, nah, we want to draft Kinlaw and keep Armstead on the outside. It didn't make sense to me at the time. Still doesn't make sense, but moving him inside definitely makes a lot more sense to me. He's been helping a ton in the run game. Defensive coordinator DeMeco Ryans, he's pointed that out several times. And then the emergence of Arden Key. That's another guy who didn't really get snaps in that first game. I think he had 3 snaps, but he's played a pivotal part in the 49ers pass rush and their ability to really move the pocket and really kind of mush down. And you see everything collapse on quarterbacks. They did 5 times on Dak Prescott last week. They're going to have to get a lot of that from the defensive line to beat the Green Bay Packers. But I think those are some of the biggest differences. And I think those are huge differences as well.
Taking it back to the cornerbacks, I know they have different guys starting now, but DPIs were even a problem for Ambry Thomas earlier in the season. So what have you seen from them to really cut back on those penalties? Because they have just 4 DPIs for 69 yards in their past 6 games, which is a huge improvement from what we saw at the beginning of the season.
I don't know. I think it's just a little bit of luck. I saw some of the drills that they were doing, and I'm like, man, people have been repping those drills like as long as you've been playing cornerback. They're doing it at half speed. That doesn't put you in any type of panic, right? Like a lot of times pass interferences come when you're kind of in a state of panic, where your time clock is sped up. So if I'm out of position and I feel like I'm kind of fighting for my life at the catch point, I might do something to kind of like, grab a guy a little bit too much, or maybe, push him off a little too much to try to fight for the ball because I'm in a state of panic. And maybe they've improved on that a little bit, maybe just being in better position. I know DeMeco Ryans, he's played a ton of too high, more quarters, cover 4. Maybe that has changed some things. And I do think having guys out there like Ambry Thomas, he can run with guys. He's not Josh Norman, who leads the 49ers in penalties in the secondary. Josh Norman, he struggles to run with guys, so he's more in that panic state, a little bit more than the other guys would be. Ambry Thomas, there's nobody that he can't run with. So, he ran a 4.3 out there at Michigan's Pro Day. So I think maybe having guys out there now who have a little bit more speed and then doing a good job of kind of protecting the corners and letting them know that they have help, maybe that helps them be a little bit more comfortable and not in a state of panic. I'd assume that's the stuff that worked, but there might be some luck with it too, because the refs, they call passing interference some weird stuff. A lot of times I don't agree with. So
depends on the day, right?
Yeah.
So seeing how Aaron Rodgers targeted Lenore a ton in that week 3 game and seeing how he was successful doing it and they struggled with the DPIs early in the season, do you anticipate that Aaron Rodgers is going to go after Ambry Thomas? And if so, are you worried about that? Or do you feel like how he's been playing in these last couple of weeks, you feel good about him holding his own?
With rookies, there's always going to be that ups and downs. There's always going to be those new things that they're seeing for the first time. And I think anytime you face a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, he knows how to utilize everything against you. He's seen every coverage. He knows every disguise. So you got to really be on your A game. And when you're a rookie cornerback, there's a lot of things that they're going to throw at you that you just haven't seen. For instance, Diamador Lenore in that first game on the touchdown pass, they kind of high-load him where he had to fall off into his quarters or his 2 and kind of sink under the corner route. I think it was quarters. So he would have a deep quarters. But they sent 2 guys at him, and they both went in. It was a number 3 guy that ran a corner route, and he was just this far off. They got him to squeeze just enough to be able to sneak it in over the top of him, right? But that's probably the first time that he had seen that. And then they got him again late in the game where it looked like he was supposed to be in a 2-man trail. He had Hufanga right over the top of him, and it was supposed to be a bracket on Devontae Adams, but for whatever reason, Diamador Lenore decided to play on top. I don't know. It was really weird. He was like totally wrong. And I only know this because I looked at the way that Emmanuel Mosley played it on that same play. He was in two-man trail. He had the same setup with the safety. I don't know what Lenoir was doing, but that cost the 49ers ultimately. That was the catch that put them in position to spike it with 4 seconds left and kick a field goal. So, you see things like that happen, and it's all learning lessons. Hopefully, Ambry Thomas is able to learn from Diamador Lenoir's mistakes. That's the key there, especially because in the NFL, you don't get a whole lot of reps when you're not a starter and stuff. So you have to have the mental capacity to learn from other guys' mistakes.
Right.
Yeah. Speaking of coverage, we know everyone's been dissecting film on Twitter all week ahead of this matchup. The Packers love to run slot fade. That's something that K'Wan Williams has been beat on a number of times this season, including last week against the Cowboys. How can the 49ers defend that better, especially against a team like Green Bay, who, tends to go to that a lot?
Probably not have K'Wan Williams in there alone, right? I think the most ideal way to defend a slot fade is to run too high. You run too high, you eliminate that right away. And too high, even if it's man coverage, you got 2 safeties high, they're responsible for half field, then you won't have to worry about the slot fade. But as soon as the 49ers go single high, and even if you look on the one that K'Wan Williams got beat on, it was single high. They ran slot fades to both sides. So Aaron Rodgers is able to pick which guy does he think is going to get beat. He can throw to that side. And it's hard for a single high safety to really get to there quick enough, especially with Aaron Rodgers, who gets the ball out quick and really he's accurate and precise with all of his throws. So I think the ideal way is there's a couple different ways you can go about it. One, not have K'Wan Williams out there and have somebody out there that can just run better with the slots on that. If I'm going to go single high and there might go slot fades. Well, let me put guys inside that can run faster and defend vertical routes better. So that's one way to go about it. Another way, especially if you want to run single high, is say, all right, we're going to press this guy on the other side in the slot. We're fine with him. But to the other side, okay, we want to run single high, but K'Wan Williams, we know you struggle with that. So what we're going to do is we're essentially going to put on a bracket. We're going to have you play about 5 yards off, outside shade, and you stay on top and take away anything vertical pushing to outside. And then have the safety looking to be more of a robber, and him, if anything gets funneled inside, then he can take that. So essentially, instead of K'Wan Williams feeling like, oh man, I'm in the slot, man coverage, and I have to defend both sides, now I just take away vertical to outside push and route. And I think that'll be easier for him to cover.
I hope that the Packers don't listen to this episode.
I was going to say, I hope someone from the 49ers is listening.
Yeah,
he's
both,
spitting right now.
They might tell me I'm wrong. I don't know,
facts.
but that's how I would. To me, that seems like the most ideal way to help a guy that might need help.
Yeah, and you would know better than us. So
now another player that struggled, I think, in that week 3 matchup was Alex Mack going against Kenny Clark. So that's someone I'm kind of concerned with going into this game. Are there any other matchups on the offensive line that you're concerned with? And if so, how can they neutralize a Packers pass rush?
Well, first I want to talk about Alex Mack, because I feel like early in the season, he was kind of getting dominated a little bit, right? It wasn't just the Green Bay game. There were several games where people were like, damn, what's wrong with Alex Mack? This is not what we thought we were getting. He's getting bullied.
We didn't sign up for this.
Yeah, he's getting pushed back into the quarterback's lap. That's not ideal. And I think as time went on, when's the last time you've really heard somebody mention Alex Mack's name except for when he's getting tackled by Randy Gregory? And, and they called defensive holding on that. So I think he's done much better. Now, Kenny Clark is really good. He's a mother effer there in the middle. Mm-hmm. So you hope that, the 49ers interior offensive line has more continuity to be able to defend something like that and maybe help Alex Mack a little bit more. But I think overall, Mack has improved throughout the season. But if anybody worries me, it's got to be Tom Compton, and it's against Gary, the edge rusher from he went to Michigan. And he was a guy from Michigan. He had supreme athletic ability, especially for his size, but he just wasn't good. He just wasn't a good pass rusher. And they weren't sure, do we use him as an outside linebacker, a 3-4 outside backer, or is he going to be even a 4-3 outside backer, 4-3 under type guy, whatever it is. And eventually he's playing defensive end now. He's had 9.5 sacks this year. He's one of the top guys in pressure in the NFL. Him going up against Tom Compton, that scares me a little bit.
Yeah, and at the beginning of sorry, go ahead, Steph.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, going back to Alex Mack, his pass blocking efficiency grade has definitely improved. I was telling Angie the other day that it's actually higher now than it was when he was with the Falcons in 2016. Wow. So yeah,
that's better with age.
Doing better.
But you know what though? A lot of people, and this is what happens, like social media, Twitter, all that stuff. They'll remember like one thing in their head that was like really bad, or a couple things that are like, oh, they've seen it happen maybe over a few games, and it's like, well, that's who the player is, and it just shows like, nah, man, the dude improved throughout the year. So yeah, that's what's up that he had that grade.
CC Mike McGlinchey. So earlier in the episode, we talked about, how these teams are different and how the Packers are healthier now. They're getting players back, but they will not have Marquez Valdes-Scantling. So how big of an impact is that going to have on the Packers to you?
That's big because that's their best vertical threat in the sense of speed, right? Now, Devontae Adams, I mean, it's like the best receiver in the league. So, I mean, he wins all over, and that's going to be tough. But you don't want two guys that can win all over. And we saw Valdes-Scantling, beat the 49ers guys a couple of times in that game where there was like, I think, was it him on the slot fade or Lazard? And then there was the post route where it was a really good concept where 49ers had two high safeties, and they had Devontae Adams hook up right in front of the near safety, which was Ward. So that held him down. And you had Tart, who was outside shade, and he ran a post, and all you have to do is just run away from him, and Aaron Rodgers threw it in a perfect spot. So that was tough, but he has that type of speed that can really hurt you in that way. So now you take him away, you have Cobb, and it's like, it's cool. You have Lazard. I mean, he's cool, but they're not guys that are really threatening you with speed like that. So now I think it makes it a little, quote unquote, easier to be able to do some things with bracketing Devontae Adams, but still be able to cover guys, outside. Not having him, I think that's big, actually. This is my first time hearing. I saw some things that he was kind of questionable or doubtful, but if he's not playing, that's huge.
He's doubtful, yeah.
Yeah, that's still, so. Yeah, if he doesn't play, that's huge.
We hope he's out. What about Zadaria Smith? He's been out since week 1. How big of an impact is he going to have on this game? And, when you've been out since week 1, how productive are you going to be in the divisional round of the playoffs? Like, how big of a factor do you think that will have?
They talked about putting him on the snap count. And the good thing is, from at least what I remember about Zadaria Smith, he always rushes off the left side of the offensive line. So if he's rushing off the left side of the offensive line, that's Trent Williams over there. So if I feel comfortable with any matchup, it's anything. And that's Zedarius is good. He's a really good football player. He really is. But first game back, so just knocking the rust off, there is always going to be that. He's a football player. He'll adjust pretty quick. But he's going up against Trent Williams. And that's not to say that he can't win any matchups with that. But I just say I think it favors Trent Williams because he's been so good. So maybe he makes a play or two, but I don't think it's anything to where it's like, gosh, dang, man, we just can't block Zadaria Smith. Like, he's back there every play. It won't be anything like that.
It's funny, we're speculating and, talking about potential players that could be out. And, all eyes were on the 49ers practice this week with Packers fans, and everyone was practicing. So I hope that just, stabbed their heart to see Nick Bosa out there and Fred Warner and Jimmy G. So I like the parallels here with us keeping tabs on everyone's injuries.
Yeah, it seems like the Packers fans definitely got a good look at Nick Bosa today in practice, but I won't go into that too much.
Did you see that?
Yeah. Oh, and listen, and not to be like a police officer or anything, but one time my son, he had to pee like really bad, right? So we were driving somewhere, and we let him out on the side of the road, and he went pee. And I learned that that's like
indecent
if you get
exposure.
caught by the police doing that, you have to register like as a sex offender. And I guess maybe if it's a minor, I think I was told like if it's a minor, then it would be like me, or I don't know, it was something crazy like that. So Nick Bosa out there peeing in public, man, that's dangerous right there. But we do that. Football, the bathrooms sometimes are really far. Man, you just go and pull your thing out and you go pee somewhere. You gotta find a place to go. So
for people
what happens.
No, the 49ers were practicing at a high school in Green Bay today, and Nick Bosa the guy had to go, so he just kind of did it over, I think maybe by the bleachers, and so a picture of it leaked online, and now Packers fans are tagging the local police department trying to get Nick Bosa arrested. Super fun. Love this rivalry. It's great.
But see, that's not fun because I mean,
seriously,
you would hate for him, like, well, all of a sudden Nick Bosa has to be a registered sex offender because he went pee at practice.
Sarcasm fun, yeah. So I tweeted. I tweeted at the FBI. I said, let's look at Rodgers where he was on January 6th. If you want to play this game, like we can go tit for tat, you know? You want to investigate
January 6th?
I don't know, maybe at the Capitol. I don't know.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
When done.
I'm sorry. Allegedly, please don't sue me, Aaron. Okay. Anyway, back to business. Steph, you got the next question for Croc?
Well, speaking of Aaron Rodgers, it is no secret that he has historically kind of struggled against the 49ers defense, especially in the playoffs. So do you feel like the 49er fans should have some, confidence going into this game because of that?
My confidence comes from DeMeco Ryans and the job that he's done no matter who they play. He's played terrific quarterbacks all this year, and he's done a really good job of limiting a lot of stuff. And I think he's only improved while this year has gone on. I mean, look at what he did against the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm not saying Dak Prescott is Aaron Rodgers, but Cowboys, they presented some tough matchups. You had receivers all over the place. You had tight ends they were getting back. And, they got Schwartz. They had, what's the other guy's name? Gosh, they had Schwartz. What's the other tight end's name? Can't think of it right now. But anyways, they had two tight ends that they could use at any time. They had multiple receivers who could stretch the field. And DeMeco Ryans, I mean, it was like at some point, like heading into the fourth quarter, the Cowboys had like 100 yards of total offense. So this is a coordinator that whatever he does, no matter the, who he has on the field, he's able to kind of limit the big plays. So you look at Aaron Rodgers, and he's scary. He is a bad man. But I put more faith in DeMeco Ryans to put together a game plan that will help kind of slow down what the Packers want to do. And even and we've seen it against the Rams, they got theirs early on. Eventually, DeMeco Ryans catches up, and he's able to make some adjustments to help slow things down. So I have a lot of faith in DeMeco Ryans. Maybe too much. I don't know.
Blake Jarwin, by the way, is the other Cowboys fan that came to me. He was on my fantasy team, and then I switched him out for Schultz because, Schultz had a great season. Yeah. What about Jimmy's road win percentage? He's great on the road, but he's going into Lambeau. It's freezing cold. Is that a reason to, be confident? Just like maybe you could be confident about how crappy Rodgers plays against 49ers in the playoffs?
Jimmy.
Oh,
I think you have to kind of account for him doing some weird stuff. Yeah, that's what I like to say, because I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I just think he does weird stuff sometimes. And
we agree.
For a lot of quarterbacks, quarterbacks do they can have like weird moments. I think the issue with Jimmy, the issue is Kyle Shanahan understands that these weird moments might happen more times for Jimmy than other quarterbacks. So he tries to limit it. So, Jimmy's going to be on, a limited throwing attempts, right? Like he typically wants to throw between 22 to 28 times. You don't really want him going over that. So when he does, you just increase the chance of more weird things kind of happening. So I think with Jimmy, as long as they kind of keep that number down a little bit. Earlier, I kind of compared it to a relief pitcher, right? A relief pitcher, he comes in and he's throwing hot. But he got about 10 pitches in him, right? He got like 15 pitches before we had to swap him out. And I think that's Jimmy Garoppolo, where you don't want him to get over that number. And then, because if you do, weird things start happening. Up until that number, a lot of times, he's super efficient. He can make a lot of good throws, tight window throws. He's probably one of the best tight window throwers in the NFL. I think in clutch moments when they need him, I think he answers the call more times than not. I bring that up all the time, and then people want to bring up the Super Bowl. And it's like, man, that was one game, man. More times than not, Jimmy comes through in the stretch.
That's true. Right? It really is true.
Didn't do when it happened when we needed it most. But Jimmy, I don't think you want to get him in a position to where he has to try to outduel Aaron Rodgers, especially with the thumb injury, especially with the shoulder. If as long as the run game is working, I think it'll be all right. You just don't put it on Jimmy to have to like oh, I have to be the reason why the 49ers win.
Yeah. We're hoping that he doesn't make any dumb decisions tomorrow. He has more interceptions than touchdowns in his last 3 games. In 4 playoff games, he has 2 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. So not only more interceptions than touchdowns in his last 3 games, but more interceptions than touchdowns as a quarterback playing in the playoffs. He's the worst postseason quarterback in the fourth quarter /OT, 19.4 passer rating in the fourth quarter and overtime in his postseason career. How concerning is that for you, Croc?
It's not ideal, but if he starts off well like he has in a lot of games, then maybe the bad fourth quarter won't bite the 49ers. Still, again, when you're playing against Aaron Rodgers, you got to be able to, keep your foot on the pedal, because at any moment he can make some throws and put them back in the game. But, I mean, we've seen this matchup before in a game where Jimmy Garoppolo didn't have to throw a whole lot. NFC Championship game, 49ers were able to just run their way to a victory. And I think ideally, especially in this type of weather and conditions, even though Jimmy has played in it before college, growing up in Chicago, all that stuff, he has some injuries and stuff that may affect the way he throws the ball. So hopefully the run game can really kind of seal the game and put the game away for the 49ers.
Yeah, an injured Jimmy Garoppolo versus a healthy Aaron Rodgers is less than ideal. But like you said, since 2019, they're 30-1. No, that's not right. I think it's 20-1 since 2019. If they run the ball 30 or more times, I might have messed up the exact record, but they've only lost 1 time since 2019
when they run a lot.
Run the ball. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, as long as they have that run game and Kyle doesn't abandon it, if it doesn't work out immediately, I think they should be good.
Here's one thing, man. The 49ers have a really good team. And there's times where I'll get on Twitter and I'll say things, I'll speak the honest truth about Jimmy Garoppolo, which is not terrible. I'll let everybody, he's not terrible, but he does some weird stuff, right? This has, and a lot of times when I talk about certain situations, people are like, it's a team sport. It's a team game. It's everybody. And my response is typically like, yeah, but the quarterback, they get paid the most. So they have the biggest hand in a lot of things that happen throughout the game. They can prevent things by, just making plays, or they can contribute to helping another team stay in the game, which Jimmy Garoppolo is kind of known to do. I think this is going to be like the ultimate team. This has to be the ultimate team win. It's going to come down to, Jimmy, you're going to have to account for him doing some weird things here and there. And you need the team to be able to back him in those moments. And we've seen, several times this year where they weren't able to back him. One was the Packers game early on. Jimmy drove them down the field, scored a touchdown. He did some weird stuff in that game, threw multiple interceptions, setting up short fields for the Packers. One was a fumble, one was an interception. But at the end of the day, he was able to drive down and put the 49ers ahead. And in that moment, you need your team to back you, regardless of everything else that happened in the game. Back me up right now. Make me right. They didn't. Same thing happened in the Tennessee game. 49ers had ample opportunity to really stomp Tennessee out. Jimmy did some weird stuff, but at the end of the day, he drove down, tied the game up. 49ers defense wasn't able to answer the call. So they need the ultimate team performance there. And I think they'll be all right.
Yeah, I definitely feel like these last couple games have been complete team wins, and so that's really great to see. Going back to the running game and someone who's really involved in that in terms of their blocking, George Kittle, he's been kind of quiet lately. He's run 114 routes, good for 9 receptions for 78 yards in the last 4 weeks combined. But the Packers, they're actually 28th in DVOA versus tight ends. So do you feel like this is a potential George Kittle game?
This feels like a George Kittle game, right? It's out there. It's going to be freezing cold.
Right?
He's like this wrestler. I feel like he has the mindset to really take on the cold, and like he might want to defeat the cold more than he wants to defeat the Green Bay Packers, right? He just has that type of mentality to kind of prove people wrong with certain things. But I was on Twitter and I saw my guy Rich J. Madrid. He does an awesome job, with the whole offensive stuff and all that type of stuff. And he spoke about how Kittle has been getting bracketed, and the 49ers have just been like, all right, if you're going to bracket him, then we're going to go elsewhere. And maybe it's just that simple. I don't know. I haven't paid attention, but if you go off of what he said, maybe it's just that simple. And they're just like, you know what? Nah, man, let's just hit Ayuk's been doing much better as of late,
Yep.
right? The production has been there. Obviously, I mean, Deebo Samuel, he's going to get his in all facets of the game, but I guess teams are just really making a point of emphasis to take away George Kittle, which I would too. Super explosive, and he's working the middle of the field.
Yeah, it's about time that teams focus on him, right?
Right. Yeah.
Before we hop into like some predictions for the game, I have seen a couple questions in the chat. Dawson Richard asked if we're worried about special teams. Are you worried about special teams? We're going up against, luckily a team that has a worse special teams than us. So what are your thoughts on that and how it might impact the game?
I'm glad you brought that up about them having like worse special teams to the 49ers because I think special teams is one of those things that when your team loses, you make a bigger deal out of it than what it is. Now, again, ideally, coaches would tell you they want to win in 3 phases of the game, right? So, I mean, there are 3 phases. You want to win 2 out of the 3 phases. So you got offense, defense, special teams. All right. So to win, typically you got to win 2 out of those 3. And special teams is included in that. So if you win offense and defense, then special teams won't matter, right? Or if you're just so good offensively. And if you look at the Packers, they got the worst. You just said it. They got the worst special teams as far as, DVOA goes and all that. 32nd in the league. And they lost like 3 games this year or whatever. So, how much does special teams really affect you? Not saying it doesn't hurt or help, right? We saw 49ers get a roughing the punter and all that. But they got a roughing the punter. That's bad. That'll go bad against DVOA. Well, they ended up punting just a few plays later anyways. So, obviously, special teams can hurt you, but I'm not really worried about it if they handle their business in the other places.
Yeah, definitely agree. But, 49er fans know maybe more than any other fan base how impactful special teams can be. I don't want to say Kyle Williams, but I'll just say it. But I'm sorry. I'm a masochist. I like to bring up painful things just because it reminds me, it could always be worse. But let's not focus on the past. Let's look to the future. Saturday, 5:15 my time, PST, the Niners and the Packers are going to play. So what's your prediction, Croc?
Oh man. Really exciting game. I mean, this is one I'm really looking forward to. I will say this. I feel more comfortable about this matchup than I did last week against the Cowboys.
Wow.
And I knew I would head into it. I even feel more comfortable with the weather conditions because it's not like a 49ers are like this pass happy team that want to throw the ball all around in this frigid weather. They are a team that want to impose their will on you. They want to make teams quit up front and pound the rock as much as they can and then play good defense. And when you're playing in weather like that, playing good defense and running the ball, that travels no matter what weather it is in. And that's a mindset. So I think they're prepared for this weather. I think they're prepared to play a team like this that isn't necessarily great against the run. A team that is possibly a little bit more finesse. 49ers are going to stop the run, stop the Packers run. So I like the 49ers in this game. I'm going to go 24-20. I like the Niners.
Ooh, are we doing scores? Okay, Steph, you go next.
Okay.
We hate doing score predictions, but we do them. Usually we hate them because we usually get them wrong.
I think we all get them wrong.
Right,
that's fair. That's fair.
I really think this is going to be a close game. It's going to come down to the final seconds. And I think it's really going to be within 3 or less points. So I'm going to go 28-26 Niners.
I like it.
Okay. Yeah, we went on Tom Grossi's Packcast this week, and he's a huge Packers fan, and we kind of talked about the outcomes. And yeah, Steph and I both agreed, like, this is going to be a 3-point game at the most. It's going to be really close, just like it was last time. I'm going to go 30-27 Niners.
Nice.
So I don't know how.
So we should take the over. The over.
Take the over. Yeah. You heard it here first. I don't know how they're going to get to that score, but I'm just throwing numbers out there. Just
score points. That's how they're going to get there.
If they're within 3 points, give us our flowers, okay? Croc, we don't want to keep you too long. Before we head out, Steph, is there anything else, that you wanted to ask Croc while we got him here?
Nothing.
Anything, man.
Anything.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Well, and I also messed up in the beginning. I did not mention Frontline Sports Network. You even have it on your hat. So tell the people, you know, all the places that they can find you if they want to keep up with you. We have some new subscribers in the chat. So
yeah, definitely head over to my Twitter account at Eric_Crocker, and there's like the little link tree thing. And if you click on that, it should take you to everything that I have going on, whether it's my YouTube, my different podcasts, you know, all that good stuff. I mean, you know, I'm kind of involved in so many different things that it kind of gets, I'll be here all day trying to list it. But Frontline Sports Network, that's something that I've been working on, trying to get off the ground. And the way my mind works is when I see somebody doing something, it's like, well, why can't I do that? You know? So I have my guy Marcos, he's helping me with Frontline Sports. We're trying to get that off the ground, add different, you know, podcasts to it, and try to figure out a way to, you know, get everybody to be able to monetize off of it. And, you know, I was a part of Blue Wire Network, and I know how it is to do a podcast. Most people do podcasts because they love talking sports, but it's great to be able to monetize off of talking about football or whatever it is. And seeing Blue Wire and how that whole thing transpired, I think my first check there was like $30 or something like that. And then it was like $70, and then it was like $100, then like $600, you know, and so on. So like, I know if Blue Wire is able to do that, and now they have like this sweet studio out in the Wynn Hotel in Las Vegas. And I've heard the story behind everything and how our guy Kevin Jones got there.
Yeah,
and
shout out Kevin.
My mind is just like, if other people can do that and start these networks, I want a Locked On network. There's a guy, David Locke, like, you know, like these people, they just start these things and they figure it out. And that's where I'm at right now. I'm in the figuring out stages. So that's what Frontline Sports is. Shout out to my guy, Marco. He's been a huge help, even when I don't have, you know, a ton of money to you know, and resources and things like that. But, you know, it's hard, you know, starting something and you have this vision, but you just gotta figure it out. So Frontline Sports, man, make sure you guys subscribe to that YouTube channel.
Yeah, and you know,
I was gonna say Marco actually, he did the intro to our podcast, the one that plays right before. So he's awesome.
Yeah, he's a great guy. Marco. Great guy. We have our conversations, our meetings, and things like that. Yeah, he's real cool.
That's awesome. Well, best of luck to you. And, you know, like you, we are just trying to figure it out. And we appreciate, you know, someone like you with such a huge platform taking the time to come on our little show. So we can't thank you enough. And I'm a little nervous that you're what?
Y'all ask me questions. Can I ask y'all questions?
Oh, yeah, sure. If you
hold on. First, you said you were a little nervous. You said you're a little nervous. What?
Oh, no. Did I say I was a little nervous?
You're about to say you're a little nervous about something.
Oh, I was going to say I'm a little nervous you're not going to be at the game tomorrow.
Oh, I know. I told my wife
you're the good luck charm.
Like, I'm the good luck charm. I'm going to Wisconsin. And then, you know, I've been traveling a lot lately. Y'all know how it gets. My wife hasn't complained at all. But, you know, I've been away. And I was just like, I asked her, I was like, babe, you want to go to Wisconsin? Like, you know, and she was just
she's like in the snow?
How cold
she saw the weather. She's like, no.
And that was one of those things too, where we could fly in Saturday morning and then we could just leave Sunday morning, you know, check out the hotel, leave Sunday morning. But, you know, she's in the heart of nursing school. She finishes up in early May. So she's, you know, really focused on that. So once she was like, nah, I'll pass, you can go though. I was like, nah, I'll just watch it from the crib. Wow, but the 49ers lose, I apologize, everybody. But
you know where to place our blame.
I wanted to ask y'all, because I feel like anybody that, you know, puts as much time and effort into something like this, you know, talking about it, you guys have the stats pulled up and everything. Like, what's your goal with your podcast and everything?
Steph, what's our goal?
I don't really know. Like, I guess you could say like we're also just figuring it out and, you know, just enjoying the ride. We didn't really set out to be any specific thing, but, you know, we see a lot of people become, you know, have a great following and connection with their listeners and viewers. And I guess that's what we strive to do the most.
Yeah. The best part about this has been connecting with other fans and, you know, having people listen to us and agree with us. But and Steph and I have become friends with us. We've never even met in person, but we have so much fun like recording
What?
episodes.
Me and Steph met in person before
I
y'all two?
I know. Dude, I know. I really want to go to the Denver game next season.
We gotta go.
So me and Steph can link
Hey,
up.
Croc, you gotta come through too.
Man, if y'all go, I'll go. I'm good. I'll
okay.
go.
All right. It's set up.
Let's
But yeah, like we just have fun. There's really, we're not trying to like make millions of dollars or anything, obviously.
Right.
Like I think we just like to talk about sports, and this is a place where we can do it and feel like maybe other people can share with us, I guess.
And I think that's the best way to go about probably anything in life, like anything that people end up doing. And it's like, man, I love doing this. For me, it was never and still is never about money, right? Like,
yeah,
I'm very passionate about the 49ers, clearly. And, growing up, huge 49er fan,
right.
being able to play football and kind of bring that perspective to it and everything. It's just, when I was a kid, I used to record. I don't know how young y'all are, but we used to have VCRs, and on Sundays
we know what VCRs are, Croc.
Okay,
we're not
I would record I would record the games and then watch them back throughout the week. Like I was just so infatuated with that. Then I would watch ESPN, and I love Stuart Scott. So like I always wanted to be like that person. Like, man, I want to be like Stuart Scott,
Yeah.
And the moment I had an opportunity to just talk about, like somebody was like, hey man, do a podcast. And it's like, man, I could talk about sports. Like, cool. Hopefully somebody listen to me. And like y'all, like I do this for free. Like I'm just passionate about it. I just love it. I just love doing it. It's just even cooler when you start to monetize it.
Right.
You're like, wait a minute. I get paid to talk about sports. Like that's like now, like when I tell people, they're like, man, what do you do? And it's like, you're kind of not embarrassed to say it, but it just comes up like, oh yeah, well, I'm a podcaster, really. And they're like, huh, okay. And I'm like,
so many people have that dream though. Like I saw this survey. It was like 80% of people aged 13 to 38 want to be an influencer on the internet, which is like that's like everyone wants to do something on the internet. So I don't think you should be embarrassed. Like you have the dream job that everyone is like striving to have,
I wouldn't say, okay, maybe embarrassed is
a bad word,
but
weird.
It's a little unorthodox, I guess you could say, right? Like when typically you hear someone, hey, what do you do? Like Akash, we asked Akash because he was in this at his job or something, all these numbers. He's like, oh yeah, I'm an engineer, and it's like, damn,
of course that sounds
fancy. I was like, damn, that sounds fancy. Well, okay, I'm a podcaster. Like, so it's like, I feel like I'm supposed to have like a grown-up job. And I guess now it is turning into a grown-up job. And it's cool to be able to support my family, my wife and kids. My wife's in nursing school, like I said, she's not working right now. And to be able to take care of everything and do all the things that I love doing while we're talking about sports, I think that's amazing. So I say all that to say, maybe it's in y'all plans in the future or something like that. You start from somewhere and then it continues to kind of grow from there. And I think y'all doing it as women, and not to like single y'all out as like all you are as women, but there's a platform for that. Like where I think my mindset is always like you just got to figure it out. And I know there's a lane for women talking sports in a way to kind of get in where it's needed, and it is needed. It's needed.
Yeah.
So man, just don't sell yourself short. I'll say that. Don't sell yourself short.
Well, thanks, Croc. That means a lot.
Really
We're excited to see where it goes. I mean, we're coming up on our 1-year anniversary, and like I don't think we expected to have a chat full of awesome people commenting and like following along. Like I pretty much just thought we were going to be talking to no one, but that's not the case. So we're stoked. Croc, again, it was so nice to have you on. Thank you everyone for tuning in. This is the 49 Carats podcast. Of course, you can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/Stragasaurus, and also on anywhere you can stream podcasts, whether it's Spotify, Apple, and be sure to follow us on Twitter at 49K Pod. So until next time, peace.
Peace.
Peace.